What's up, folks? Welcome to AI with Amit. Today we are looking at Claude Opus 4.7, just dropped today, Friday the 16th. Just dropped today, Friday the 16th of April. We have a ton to cover. Let's get started. If you're new here, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. So, the big thing with 4.7 is the advanced reasoning and autonomous engineering. Instead of you going back and forth with Claude Code and hitting yes, yes, yes to all the NPM builds that it's asking you permission for, you can give it a task, walk away, and the coding assistant will build it for you. And this is how that delegation works. On the left is what we are doing right now, where we are supervising the build. You give Claude a idea, you want it to build that idea, or you're giving it code that you want it to write. You're still sitting there, whether it's through dispatch or on your desktop, and going back and forth with Claude. On the right side is the delegation. Think of this as OpenClaw with agents. So you still are in the loop, but instead of just talking to Claude, now you can spawn multiple agents, each autonomously working on different tasks. So it's true async autonomous building that Claude is bringing to the market. Pretty much what Wang said, who is the CEO of Windsurf, we are shifting to that one-to-many model instead of the one-to-one model. And this is the first big shift into that one-to-many model. Here's a good comparison between 4.6, 4.7, and what's coming with Mythos. The first thing you can see is it shifts from the one-on-one supervision to parallel delegation. And Mythos will have broad scope autonomy, but that's hidden from all of us right now. It's still in beta, so hopefully coming soon to general public. The next one is a pretty big deal. 3.75 megapixel read over standard resolution means that you can give it dense technical diagrams, dense screenshots. It should be able to do a better job of reading and reasoning that image versus the current 4.6 model. From a security perspective, 4.7 ships with Project Glasswig. And what Project Glasswig does is it's automated detection to block certain cyber use cases that could introduce cybersecurity risk. And then there's also a cyber verification program that's open to cybersecurity researchers as part of Opus 4.7. And finally, the workflow capacity. Opus 4.6 can handle short horizon tasks, whereas 4.7 is designed for longer coding tasks. Think hours of coding session in one single go. And then here's some early access telemetry data that they have released on their blog that I'm going to link in the description so you can check it out. The 0.813 General Finance Agent Eval score. What does that mean? That means that Opus 4.7 is best in class for long, multi-step financial analysis work. Next is the precision and loop resistance. It's a huge jump from 58% to 70%. And to give you an example, what that means is if we look at GenSpark's example, previous models would get stuck in a loop. If you gave it a coding task, it's just stuck in that loop and doesn't know how to proceed. 4.7 shifts that to if the agent is stuck, it's going to try a different approach. It's not going to be stuck in that loop and consume all your tokens. It's going to try something new to fix what it's stuck on. For CodeRabbit's example, the recall that's greater than 10%, which means that Opus 4.7 is finding 10% more bugs before they hit production. So their code that they're releasing to production is more stable. And then finally on Harvey AI is a legal tool that big law firms use and they pay big money for it. So Harvey has its own big law benchmarking, and that big law bench tests whether AI can do similar tasks to a junior law associate. Opus 4.7 scored over 90% on those tasks, which means Opus 4.7 is not just good at coding or financial analysis, it's also good at reasoning like a lawyer. Now, the last one, multimodal and UI. This is massive. The visual capacity benchmark was 54.5%, and now it's jumped to 98.5%, which means it's interpreting complex diagrams, doing multimodal of image, text, all of that within the same chat window. That means that the model essentially went from getting it wrong half the time to getting it right almost every single time. That's not a change. That's a fundamental transformation of how 4.7 works. Now, For the loop resistance that I touched on earlier, this is what it looks like. Legacy AI 4.6 and prior, this is what the loop that they go in. You encounter a problem or a tool error, you retry, you get stuck in infinite loop, and you waste tokens. With 4.7, it branches off into a different flow. So it does self-evaluation. If there's a tool call error or if there's any errors, it'll first try it. And after a few tries, it tries an alternate strategy, just like a human would, which means there's no loops and no hallucination fallbacks. And Hex reported that Opus 4.7 correctly reports back missing data instead of just hallucinating or falling back on dummy data. It'll tell you, hey, this data is missing and I need it to do my job. And you can see the telemetry metric at the bottom where Rakuten reports that 4.7 was able to close 3 times more tasks on their software benchmark versus 4.6. I already touched on this. Opus 4.7 can now read higher resolution images or has a higher resolution scanner up to 2576 pixels. So it can read dense architecture diagrams. Here's an example where the legacy vision model would not be able to read something like this. Opus 4.7 can now take care of that. Now, why does this matter, or what are some of the use cases of this? Agents can now read dense screenshots, which might include small tooltips, menu items, or error messages. That's one. The next would be data extraction from complex UI, UX designs or diagrams. And then finally, something like a life sciences patent workflow where Opus can come and help with dissecting some of those images. Essentially, agents that work with your screen are now going to be dramatically more accurate. Here's a diagram of how this self-correcting agent works. First is the literal instruction following. So some of the old prompts that worked with legacy models, you might have to retune them because Opus 4.7 is going to literally take that as the word of gospel and run with it. So just keep that in mind so you don't waste any tokens. You might have to rethink all your prompts. Then we talked about the high-res vision. It can spot minute bugs. Small details are not going to be missed. This one, the sustained reasoning, is essentially the model's memory has improved. Now it can remember things across multiple sessions, across multiple days, and reference it back when you're chatting with it. And we already talked about loop resistance and pushing through some of those failures. Now, if you put this all together, it creates an autonomous entity that can write code, not get stuck in a loop, look at any errors using the visual high resolution parameter that have been released, and then fix itself. And then using that high res, it can catch its own faults in the UI UX, fix it, and deliver that product to you. So this is essentially what the workflow would look like. And Anthropic has built all these tools towards not just a model update, but it's an entire infrastructure pipeline update. So first you can budget your tasks. That's in beta, coming out hopefully generally available soon, where you can give it amount of tokens that you want it to spend on a specific task. Then you can use the high level effort reasoning, which is the X high, which is now default. But you can also choose auto if you want to toggle between low, medium, high level of effort. Now, Max users also get the ultra review, and think of ultra review as a senior QA person reviewing all the work. That's the third step. And then the final is the deployment, which now happens with a clean, wrapper-free code output ready for deployment. Now, what does that final step mean? That it's cutting out the meaningless wrapper functions and scaffolding and spitting out clean code that you can use. And then 4.7 also comes with Project Glasswig, which is the security features on top of the model. And this is what a diagram of that would look like. Let's say you are working in an enterprise, you send the request. If it's a malicious request or something that can harm your company's data, it'll automatically be blocked. Then you have your regular request that will just pass through, maybe engineering tasks. And then finally, researchers are also getting a preview of the cyber verification program. Think pen testers, red teamers, vulnerability testers, they can apply for that research preview program. So this is how Anthropic is threading the needle of shipping a powerful model without shipping a powerful weapon. Now, with new model comes new costs. So this one is more expensive. Of course it is. So this is a chart of what you can expect. A low effort 4.7 is equivalent to a medium effort 4.6 in terms of costs. Going back to what I mentioned here, low effort 4.7 is equivalent to medium effort 4.6. That's essentially you're getting more intelligence for the same effort. Now, to balance all of this, what Claude recommends is for coding tasks, go with high or X high, and then balance it with some budgets around token caps. And this, of course, thank God, the overall token pricing remains the same, $5 per million input and $25 per million output. And this is, again, generally available today. You can use it directly, call the Claude Opus 4.7 API endpoint, or you can use it in Bedrock, you can use it in Claude API, all of the... Now, if you're a Claude Pro or Max user, you already have access, but if you're not seeing it on your desktop app, just quit it, reopen it, and then you should see 4.7 in there. And finally, just wanted to call this out. Sean Ward, he's the CEO of a company called iAgent, and he essentially gave Claude just this one prompt: build me a text-to-speech engine in Rust. And that's it. One prompt, no hand-holding, just one task, go do it. Then he walked away and let it work. Now, what does this mean? Text-to-speech is that technology where Siri talks back to you, audible, and essentially what he's telling Opus 4.7 is build this from scratch, which is one of the hardest things to do in engineering, apparently. So much so that most companies don't even do it. They just use 11 labs or they use Google. They don't want to build it from scratch. Now, what Opus 4.7 did is it pretty much built the entire thing end to end from that single prompt. So it built the neural model, which is what tells the AI's brain that this letter should sound like this so that it can convert your text to speech. Then it built the SIMD kernels, which in plain English is performance optimized code that helps the engine run fast in real time. So you're saying the text and it's coming back out as audio. And a browser demo, which means it didn't just build code that someone has to now figure out how to use. It built the end user interface that you can interact with. And to top it all, it built it in Rust, which is the most demanding programming language on the planet. It is not forgiving. You make one mistake, it's not going to like it, and it's going to yell back at you. And then after all of that, it tested the whole damn thing itself. And there you have it, folks. That is Opus 4.7, released April 16th, 2026. And thank you again for watching. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button. And until next time, keep prompting.